Hello, welcome to the 7th Museums Talk from Germany, 7th and the last, that we organized in collaboration with the Goethe Institute in Istanbul. Our aim was to create a conversation platform between the prominent museum professionals in Germany and the local museum audiences, as well as the digital audiences, as we put the video documentations of these talks on Istanbul Modern's YouTube page. So you can watch the previous 6 talks actually on our YouTube page. We had certain key topics such as the expansion projects of museums and their audiences, which is the topic of tonight, curatorial practices, archives and collections, and we invited curators, directors and department directors from 7 different institutions in order to share their experiences and some case studies with us. So I'd like to thank them all. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues at Istanbul Modern, especially Demet Yıldız, the project manager of this program, and our colleagues from the Goethe Institute in Istanbul, Lena and Petra, and most importantly, the director of the Goethe Institute here, Raimar Folke, to give an introduction also. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much, Çelenk. Yes, it has indeed been a great pleasure for me too. I think I'm the 3rd generation of directors who's been involved with this project, and indeed, unfortunately, it's the very last of this series. It's been very successful, and I really hope that we can continue with something new, but it's going to be a tough act to follow because it's been a great series. So thanks very much once again to you, to both of you, Demet and Çelenk, and to your team for making this possible. I think we have indeed been able to span the whole spectrum of museum work, and this is, so to speak, the grandiose finale. We have a new perspective by our speaker today from Frankfurt. Frankfurt, an often underrated city, I have to say, as a confessing Berliner. So I like to go to Frankfurt, and Frankfurt has a very rich, very rich museum scene. And incidentally, it's also the birthplace of our namesake Goethe, who was born in Frankfurt. But there are indeed wonderful museums: the Schön Kunsthalle, the Städelschule, Städel Museum, the Liebighaus, 3 of the institutions that our speaker this evening will talk about. Inka Drögemüller has a background in communications. She studied in Berlin, actually studied communications at Berlin's Academy of the Arts. So is more from a marketing and communications background, but veered immediately into the arts scene afterwards. Worked first independently as a gallerist and an advisor, and then quickly started work in Frankfurt at various institutions. Currently, she is part of the directorial group, if I may say so, the directorial team of the 3 museums, and she will talk to us this evening on museums and their audiences. Thank you very much, Inka Drögemüller, for coming here to Istanbul and enlightening us on this very important subject and bringing this wonderful series to a close with your insights on this topic. So please welcome Inka Drögemüller from Frankfurt.
Hello, good evening, dear colleagues from the Istanbul Modern, dear representatives from the Goethe Institute, dear museums, fans, lovers, and representatives. First of all, thank you for having me here. My name is Inka Drögemüller, and I'm happy to be here and give you an insight into Germany's museum structure, more specifically the Schön Kunsthalle and the Städel Museum. Both are located in the center of Germany in Frankfurt and have been led by the same director for over 10 years now. However, the Schön Kunsthalle and the Städel Museum have a completely different organizational structure. The Schön is a rather young, 30-year-old exhibition hall without an own collection. Meanwhile, the Städel Museum was founded about 200 years ago by the banker and businessman Johann Friedrich Städel, and its collection has been growing ever since, encompassing more than 700 years of European art history. Due to their different institutional structures, the Schön and the Städel Museum also interact with their audiences in very different ways. Let's have a look and start at the city center of Frankfurt, where the Schön is located. In between two central touristic hotspots, you can find the building of the Schirn, the so-called Römerberg, a central square in the front, whilst the Cathedral of Frankfurt is in the back. In order to go to the cathedral, you have to cross the Schirn Rotunda, a round square forming part of the exhibition hall's building and also its entrance. Therefore, any visitor and tourist automatically passes by the Schirn. Additionally, the Rotunda calls visitors' and tourists' attention almost accidentally, with the installations of contemporary artists such as the one by Aisha Erkman in 2004 called Soaked, as you can see. Hence, the Schirn's location in the city center and its open architecture already represent its open and democratic character. Since its opening in 1986, the Schirn has presented more than 200 exhibitions on around 2,000 square meters. Today, it can claim a total of more than 8 million visitors. As we do not have our own collection, the exhibition program is quite diverse, ranging from the 19th and 20th century to contemporary art. As part of our program, we show exhibitions on pioneering artistic positions and movements such as the Nazarenes, or such as one of the very first exhibition on women impressionists. Furthermore, the Schirn features large-scale solo exhibitions both on established modern artists, for instance last year on Juan Miró, as well as on contemporary artists such as Jeff Koons or Yoko Ono. Next to these exhibitions at the Schirn often adopts social, historical, or cultural debates. Our exhibition Shopping, for instance, presented 100 years of art that dealt with consumer culture and the question of how it became such a ruling factor in our lives. At the entrance, the shopping exhibition even featured a real supermarket by the Belgian artist Guillaume Beyle, next to works by Thomas Bayerle and Barbara Kruger, for instance. Hence, instead of taking over already made exhibitions from others, the Schirn itself acts as a producer and creator of very diverse and broad exhibition program, thereby articulating clear statements and positions which can be taken up by other museums all around the world. During the last 30 years, we cooperated with numerous renowned institutions such as the Pompidou, the Tate, and the MoMA, just to name a few. As shown in the beginning, our exhibition program also takes place outside the exhibition building at the Schirn Rotunda. We always show around 2 site-specific temporary installations of contemporary artists at the Rotunda every year, such as the one by Doug Aitken, Rosa Barber, or Clarina Betzola, to name just a few examples. Some of our exhibitions even reach beyond our building, such as Shopping, which I just mentioned earlier. Here you can see a banner by the artist Barbara Kruger, which was installed at one of the most well-known German shopping malls, Galeria Kaufhof in Frankfurt, stating, "That's new, that's you, that's you." Sorry. The next one. Never push it again. So it's stating in German, in English it says, "That's new, that's you, that's new, that's everything." You want it, you buy it, you forget it. Thereby, the shopping mall itself spread a critique of consumerism, which we thought was quite brave of them. Another example for an exhibition reaching out in the city was Street Art Brazil, which we organized in 2013 when Brazil was the guest of honor at the famous Frankfurt Book Fair. Or our exhibition Playing the City. It encompassed several installations and participative projects at different places in Frankfurt, especially at those places where artworks are normally not expected and people are confronted by them accidentally. Hence, the Schirn exhibitions are always developed independent of a collection, which allows for greater openness and creativity in making the exhibition program. Therefore, we also have a rather small team of about 40 people, which is partly due to the fact that departments such as restoration and conservation simply do not exist. Our team works closely together, and we tend to realize projects across different departments from an interdisciplinary approach. The organizational structure at the Schirn is therefore very agile, and our hierarchies are rather low. Our independent structures are not only thanks to the fact that we have no collection, but also because the Schirn is a non-profit company with limited liability belonging to the city of Frankfurt. This means that we are to a great extent funded by the city of Frankfurt, but we are more flexible than the normal public institutions, for instance, regarding the invitation for tenders or when hiring staff. In 2001, our funds were still mainly generated from public means. Nowadays, thanks to our sponsoring and fundraising initiatives, we generate a larger part of our means from private funds. Summarizing, the Schirn has always been a seismograph for outstanding explosive developments in the visual arts, both past and current ones. We want to spark debates by articulating controversial opinions, such as with our recent exhibition on peace, which united many different, often controversial answers to the question, how does peace actually work? Hence, our exhibition always provides room for lively exchange on the relevance of art for society as well as on other societal topics. Let's have a look at our visitors. Our goal is to be the region's most popular institutions in terms of visitor numbers and attendance. More than 60% would visit the Schirn more than once a year. The biggest visitor group is 20 years older than the Schirn itself, hence above 50. And more than 60% of our visitors are female. And luckily, our exhibitions leave only every 10th visitor cold. When focusing on the needs of our visitors, we mainly have in mind all sorts of museum goers, families and children, as well as bloggers and social media publishers. We offer several opportunities for active involvement, but also a very diverse program of events, talks, and film series accompanying and complementing our exhibitions, such as double feature, where young artists present their films. At our Schirn Café, we don't have a fancy cinema like this. Or a big party we regularly organize called Schirn at Night. These events and parties often attract popular visitors and participants, such as the famous musician Peaches, who joined us a few years ago. And additionally, we are offering guided tours for our visitors and party guests during Schirn at Night. And several guides are available to answer your questions. So with our large education and mediation program, we strive to offer our visitors an original sensory exhibition experience and opportunities for active involvement before, during, and after their visit. To accomplish this goal, we need to reach them also across the boundaries of the exhibition hall. Therefore, we decided to develop a digital strategy in order to push debates on art from a contemporary perspective. Thereby, we engage with new audiences and generate new digital visitors, whether they will ever be physically present at the Schön or not. That way, the Schön becomes a place of discovery and takes on the role of a trendsetter both online and offline. Our philosophy is based on the idea that the Schön fits to every user everywhere, no matter what age, social fit, time, location, or device. The Schön was one of the very first institutions in Germany to work with social media and has built one of the most successful social footprints on a national scale, with around 140,000 followers. From the beginning, our strategy has been to speak in an entertaining tone about our exhibitions and share interesting topics in the world of art and culture. That way, we try to make our institution more accessible to our followers and visitors. But how are we doing this? Our main channel of distribution is Facebook, with over 100,000 fans and a potential reach of 1.8 million users. Via Facebook, we reach all age groups and interaction is evenly distributed. Part of our Facebook page are the news channel notes from our visitor books, press pics, live streaming, and videos. For instance, our Facebook live videos, where the curator leads through the exhibition. During these tours, users from all over the world can participate live in a guided tour. Alternatively, users can watch the videos afterwards, and many of our followers do so. Another example of a social channel we use is Instagram. Here you can mainly find posts on events, upcoming and running exhibition, artists, and specials. Regramming posts by our visitors make one major content influx. Thereby, we like to focus on recurring subjects such as the architecture images of the Schön that visitors took, or the hashtag Schöndesign, where followers show us campaign posters from exhibitions in their home, for example. We also like to engage in Insta-swaps with partner institutions. We did so with the Louisiana Museum in Denmark during our Giacometti Naumann exhibition. When putting together our shows, we have to loan all our artworks from major partner institutions and museums. That is an intrinsic part of our identity and a huge part of our work, which we want to share with our users via Instagram. Therefore, the Louisiana took over our Instagram account and we took over theirs, so that both institutions also reached new audiences. Next to Facebook and Instagram, we also have our own YouTube channel and certainly are active via Twitter, so feel free to follow us from all over. In addition to the regular social media channels, we introduced our own bilingual online magazine, the so-called Schön Mag. It presents exhibition-related as well as additional articles on the art and cultural scene more generally. Furthermore, the Schön Mag features interviews with artists, musicians, and designers, as well as podcasts and videos. Users can follow our curators on their travels through the art world and follow them planning new exhibitions and meetups with artists. On the Schön Mag, we publish several articles by independent authors per week and then have an average of 600,000 visits per year. About 30% are international readers. Often our exhibitions are so crowded that there is hardly any space for every visitor to read all the texts and to understand the context of the works. Therefore, we introduced one of our most successful digital tools, the so-called digitorial. Whether at home, in a cafe, or on your journey to the Schön, a digitorial is basically a one-pager that allows you to learn more about the background on the core topics of the exhibition you're about to see beforehand. It is responsive, available in German and English, and links multimedia contents in the shape of images, videos, sound, and text in an engagingly narrated way. During our Magritte exhibition, the digitorial had nearly 50,000 unique visits, for example, which marks a quarter of our total visitor number for the show. So, people are really taking advantage of it as an innovative and story-based way to prepare themselves before visiting an exhibition. That way, they can also concentrate better on the artworks during their actual visit at the museum. Summarizing, we understand the Schön as a system and its changing exhibitions as our products. Hence, every interaction with our visitors or users, both online and offline, serves as a potentially valuable and emotional experience to them. This, in turn, helps to increase our audience reaches, but it also enables us to future-proof our institution to remain relevant and to adapt to people's day-to-day lives. So let's jump from the Schön to the Städel Museum, only 5 minutes by bike across the River Main. The Städel is located in the heart of Frankfurt's so-called museum embankment. It looks completely different. It is Germany's oldest and most renowned museum foundation, and in contrast to the Schön, the Städel does own a collection. It comprises about 3,000 paintings, 600 sculptures, 4,000 photographs, and more than 100,000 drawings and prints. So more than 200 years ago, in 1815, the Frankfurt-based banker and businessman Johann Friedrich Städel established the Städel Museum as a civic foundation. As expressed in his will, his comprehensive collection of paintings and engravings, as well as his entire fortune, were to be applied to the benefit of the city of Frankfurt and its citizens. Nowadays, the Städel Museum stands for the broad-scale involvement of the public, a factor of fundamental significance for the preservation and development of this cultural institution. The traditional key concerns of a museum, collection, preservation, presentation, research and mediation, play a central role at the Städel Museum. Over the past 200 years, the collection has constantly expanded. Today, it offers an almost complete overview of 700 years of European art, from the early 14th century to the Renaissance, the Baroque, the classical modern, and that's the famous Goethe, to the very present. In 2012, we extended the museum physically by opening a new space for our contemporary collection underneath the museum's garden. Among the highlights of our collection, you can further find works from the old masters, such as Lucas Cranach, Albrecht Dürer, Botticelli, Rembrandt, and Vermeer. Among the modern artists, we have works by Monet and Picasso, as well as prominent contemporaries like Neo Rauch and Gerhard Richter. We showed these and other works in our permanent collection on around 9,000 square meters. Additionally, we develop internationally special exhibitions within the context of our collection. Yearly, around 500,000 people from Frankfurt and all over are visiting the Städel Museum. Besides our exhibition program, we devote our efforts to the preservation and scholarly investigation of our holdings. Another very important key concern for us is museum education, which we individually adapt not only to every single visitor, but also to the specific occasion of every visit. According to our philosophy, every visitor is different, and so is every visit. Additionally, to general docent tours, we aim to adapt both to our visitors' special interests and personality, but also to their individual expectations when visiting the museum. Therefore, we have developed guided formats and also specific audio tours on topics like art and religion, or on the development of Frankfurt City, culture, and artworks of the Städel Museum collection, to name just a few. Apart from that, we enable people who cannot visit us to get an insight into our collection and exhibition, for example, at a retirement home. Whether for visitors with limited vision or the deaf, we provide guided tours with detailed picture descriptions or with sign language interpreters. Overall, we try to encourage young and old to learn about art and to share their knowledge. But of course, one can also stroll through our collection and exhibition without a tour in one's own pace and guided by individual interest. As a civic foundation, it is inscribed in our DNA to reach as many audiences as possible. However, the museum hasn't always been such an open and welcoming place. Until the early 18th century, art was only publicly accessible in churches and on public places. Even one of the first museums, the British Museum, merely allowed a chosen public of 15 people to enter its walls at the same time. The occupation with art and culture was hence a very elitist task that only a privileged group of people was assigned to in order to upgrade their education and to offset their societal standing. During the past 200 years, museums have undergone tremendous change, and we are fully aware of that. At the same time, society has also been changing in a rapid pace. Today, people deal differently with information, education, and culture than even only about 10 years ago. To visualize this rapid change, please have a look at this photo of the papal election in Rome in 2005, and in contrast to the same event in 2013. Comparing these two images clearly underlines how the digital revolution deeply affects our ways of perceiving and approaching our environment. In times of the sensory overload produced by all the different media we are surrounded by, the museum still provides an asynchronous space that, more than ever, offers a means of temporary retreat from the fast pace of everyday life. In a museum, you concentrate better, you're able to conduct dialogues more easily, and to focus deliberately on the perception of one or more artworks. And in fact, the average time visitors spend at the museum has not changed since 1960, even in the age of the so-called limited attention span. In view of the comprehensive digitalization we currently experience, museums and their self-image face new challenges and questions. For instance, how can we transfer our educational mandate into the digital era? How do we communicate the ongoing relevance of our collection? How to create forums for social debates that enable participation? How do we respond to diversity and complexity in an increasingly globalized world? In 2015, we took the Städel Museum's 200th anniversary as an occasion to redefine our wide-ranging educational offers and expand the museum experience into the digital realm. For this so-called digital extension, we followed several goals. Actually, only 1% of our permanent collection is on display. Thanks to the digital extension, we can cross the physical boundaries of the museum and make a bigger part of our collection accessible to everyone. Furthermore, it allows us to shed light on previously hidden and inaccessible aspects of our work behind the scenes, for instance, in the restoration or the depot. Thereby, we can also overcome temporal boundaries and preserve scholarly findings beyond the limited duration of exhibitions and projects, for instance, by utilizing innovative technological developments. The unlimited digital space also helps us to increase our radius of action and thereby reach new age groups. And last but not least, spark enthusiasm in visitors from all over the world to engage with art and culture and to actively participate in our various projects. In order to realize these objectives, the Städel Museum has developed new forms of digital and online narration. Thereby, we do not want to reconstruct or replace the museum visit virtually, but complement it and provide further insights. To clarify how we do this, I would like to show you these 3 examples of digital projects. One of our biggest offers a cloud-based multimedia platform, the Städel Digital Collection. On this platform, some 1,000 artworks and more than 100,000 informational items are presently at the user's disposal. We are going to expand the platform during the next years so that, in the end, almost 32,000 artworks will be available online at the collection. Apart from large-scale illustrations and text, each artwork is accompanied by audio sequences, video clips, or information on the work's exhibition history. The digital collection design further inspires users to establish connections between the different artworks. Embarking on this so-called digital roaming, you can discover the works and their relation to each other from many different perspectives. Similarly to an exhibition visit, where visitors also stroll through the museum driven by his or her interest. What is more, the digital collection addresses many different users by enabling several ways to access the collection and its content. Whereas the layperson will presumably enjoy clicking through the digital collection intuitively, the scholar can set out on an entirely different and much more specific type of search, thanks to the tagging of the pictorial contents by art theoretical terms. Since its launch in 2015, the Städel Digital Collection has attracted almost 500,000 visitors. Meanwhile, the Städel Time Machine is a research project on the 200-year-old history of collecting at the Städel Museum. It offers an accurate 3D construction of the exhibition rooms in the Städel Museum's early days. Luckily, we could reconstruct them thanks to early watercolor drawings of the museum. With the Städel Time Machine, users can take a tour through the former exhibition architecture and artworks by using either a program for personal computers or an app for the virtual reality headset, which provides completely new insights. This project shows how the most recent technological developments may be used for the presentation of research results addressing both experts and interested lay people. That way, we also generated additional content, which could be used by our partner Samsung. In return, Samsung provided us with their technology. The third and last digital Städel project I would like to present is our online course, which we developed in cooperation with a renowned German university. Art History Online, the Städel course on modern art, is a free course that can be easily accessed via a website. Sebastian Blomberg, a well-known German actor, leads through the 5 different modules of the course that build up on each other. Let's have a look to give you an idea what it is all about.
What is this all about? This is supposed to be modern art. Modern art is something for experts. Sounds good, but it's as wrong as most of the other pretensions about modern art. This online course will examine and explore selected works of the Drögemüller.
Already see, this comprehensive free online course consists of different As you could already see, this comprehensive free online course consists of different multimedia elements. Every module and its topic is introduced with a short film, followed by text that one can but does not have to read. Furthermore, users can absolve playful exercises and watch the short animation films that allow you to delve deeper into specific topics. Each module then closes with a summarizing the tutorial that leads over to the next topic. In addition to these multimedia elements, one can delve into the accompanying timeline that is based on more than 200 works of the Städel collection. Next to important art historical and historical events, the timeline comprises rich information on the artworks themselves, as well as the artists' biographies and art movements. Via the timeline, users can acquire additional information that helps to solve the exercises. At the end of the course, every user gets a personalized certificate and 2 tickets for free entrance to the Städel Museum. That way they can visit and with friends and family to share the knowledge they gained in the course. Our online course is accessible to everyone both in German and English. You can absolve the course within your own amount of time and in varying depth. It provides both a toolset of visual skills and background knowledge to enrich people's encounters with modern art. We are very happy that within 18 months the course has attracted more than 23,000 registered users all over the world. Furthermore, it succeeds in addressing all age groups. And unlike our exhibition, which are attended by much more women than men, the online course is almost equally popular. Summarizing both, the Städel Museum and the Schön act as cultural institutions that are taking on ever more responsibility towards society, beyond the culture, beyond the pure communication of art and aesthetics. We want to provide unrestricted access to our art historical knowledge and research results thus enabling global participation in cultural assets beyond the museum's physical and temporal boundaries. Our aim as non-profit or institutions is to play a leading role in cultural education and mediation, rather than leaving these educational offers to commercial providers. Because we are open to develop new, innovative formats, working at the Städelmuseum and the Schirn is incredibly inspiring to me. But the most rewarding effect about working at these two institutions is the thankfulness we get back from our visitors and users. To know that we can add on to their lives in many different ways is what motivates us from day to day to move on and pave the way for the future. Thank you very much for your attention. I don't know if you have any questions.
Hello, thank you first of all for the presentation. It was fantastic. I would like to hear more about what kind of experiences you offered through VR goggles. I mean, did you offer only this the 200 years ago version of the museum, or is there any other applications as well?
Not yet. We started with that, and there was a cooperation with Samsung, as said, and we are now working, and it was mentioned before, I'm also working for a sculptural collection, and especially with sculpture, 3D or VR makes a lot of sense. So what we are trying to do is to do a project on the antiques, where you can have a look at the Pantheon and get the explanation what's happening in there as a story. So, but at the moment, this historical project is the first that we did with VR.
Well, it looks great. Is there any possibility that we can experience it?
Yeah, if you have the Samsung gear, it's online. You can get it in their store. And also, if you come to Frankfurt at our museum, we just presented that at the, I mean, what I showed you was only the web app, which is quite boring compared to the VR experience, which is really great. So at the Städelmuseum, you can experience that, or you have the Samsung gear, then you can. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for a really fascinating talk. I'm really stunned by the efforts you put into digital accompaniment to the real kind of experience of immersing oneself in art in a museum, and it's very refreshing to see that the kind of first-hand experience never seems to lose attraction. So people still like to go to museums, but the fact that you future-proof it by adding so many digital components, I think, is extremely interesting and valuable. And I would just and you also showed the progression of how much effort you've actually put into these things. I don't know if you're in the position to disclose that, but it'd be very interesting to see how much, maybe percentage-wise, of your budget actually goes into digital work. Do you produce the content in-house, or is it you work with an agency? Because it's a very, very high-quality content, and it's obviously done extremely professionally.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's from what I could tell, it's great, because you can tell that I think it's really difficult to, especially if you're working in the field of art history and art, the images have to be very good, the editorial work has to be very good, it has to be translated, so it's a huge amount of work. So maybe you could give us some insight into what what the funding situation is, the staffing situation is, and how you go about the quality control.
Thank you for that question. it's a lot of work and a lot of money. So when we decided in before 2015 for our 200th anniversary that we want to do a so-called digital extension, we only could do it because we realized that it's harder for us to fund our exhibitions than to fund education. And especially in the digital field, there was a lot of foundations, private people, and also private businesses who funded us for that. There's a large interest in that. For us, it was very important that all these offers were free for the users and our visitors. So instead of producing an app that costs €1 per user, we decided it's easier for us to fundraise €100,000 for the whole application and then give it away for free. So altogether, it's for the projects that I showed you in 2015, we had up to €5 million spent into the digital. And about the staffing, we grew, but we didn't build up a digital department. What we did is we hired people in education and communication. And we started to work cross-departmentally. So it's not that one department was responsible for one project, but there were always representatives from education, first of all, PR, marketing, our staff from technique. So all these departments were involved. And so especially education and communication grew at that time. Because the digital museum is as much work as the analog museum. And what is worse is once you open an exhibition, it's done. And then it ends, sadly. But once you put you offer a digital project, the work starts, because you really, you have to. There are always new versions all the time. You have to invest all the time. If you have new information, it has to be in there because everybody expects that it's really actual and not 2 years ago or something. So it's a lot of work. I'd say that at least these departments grew about 30 to 40% during that time. And your last question, forgot. Working with agencies, right. We produce the content in-house. We learned that we cannot give our content away, never. So the best people to do the content are in-house. And we work with several agencies, but new media agencies and with different agencies, because these are so big projects that one agency was very occupied with one, but we did several parallel, so we had several agencies working for us, but we learned that some of them are better than others, and we keep concentrating on the better ones. So especially the online course, the film I showed, we were working together with a Berlin film production, and that makes such a difference. It was so it was really a lot of work to do the course, but also we had 5 days shooting at the museum for the whole course, and there's altogether more than an hour film material in the course, and altogether 40 hours of material. So if you go through the course, it takes 40 hours. But then you read all the text, which you don't have to. You might know it all already. Thank you. Yeah, that was the third. Okay. Thanks for coming.